Hi there. Oh, come in, come in. Please have a seat. Yes, this is my office here. I know you're a very busy person. You're very important, and I definitely don't want to make you feel like you're wasting your time because we all know that time is money. So please have a seat and let's just go ahead and get started immediately, okay? Okay, yeah. So, if we're going to go ahead and talk about this, first I want to know, did you come here by yacht or was it private jet? Carrier pigeon. Okay, very interesting. Are you training those recently? Okay, yes, sort of the new billionaire venture. I totally understand it. You know what? I do think that there is something there, you know? Yeah, absolutely. Right after like this AI surge, and you guys did the NFTs and whatnot, and that really, yeah, it really took off. Yeah, you can totally see how that did not plummet to the ground. So, and after AI, carrier pigeon is truly the thing that's going to revolutionize the transport industry, huh? Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, well, uh, you might not know who I am. I know that your sort of few assistants set this appointment up. It is sort of like mandated for you by the government, which I know they don't do very much to just hone you in, but let's just say that this is just sort of one of those new initiatives that you'll probably lobby into making not actually a thing anymore. But until then, hi, how are you? My name is Basil. I will be, of course, your therapist today. Please, but I don't like using the word therapist. Think of me more as your coach, right? Your hustle coach. I think that will make a better connection with how you view the world, yeah? Okay, so we understand that you, as part of the 1% and sort of part of the billionaire class, have a little bit of a problem. Yeah, your problem is that you have a hard time setting aside your greed and viewing people as humans, right? Now, your assistant did a very good job in finding me because I deal with with people like you all the time. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tell you that you are correct. Greed is important. And I actually think that you and a lot of people like you don't have enough greed. Okay, so I'm not here to tell you to change your ways. I'm actually here to tell you to keep doing what you're doing. And let's just go through it and talk through this so that when you go to be confronted by other people about your views and about, your views on capital, you can have the proper wording, right? The therapy speak to be able to really shut them down, right? Yeah, okay. All right, so does that make you a little bit more excited about this? Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Well, actually, before we get started with the actual thing, I did want to offer you some like tea or coffee. Is that something that you'd be interested in? Okay, you're interested in some tea. I totally, it's totally this health craze. It's not kombucha because kombucha is over and done with now. It is, of course, protein infused tea, so you will be getting sort of your macros while I'm through this tea. Yeah. Okay, you're a little. You don't really want it in this sort of like everyday. Is sort of this everyday mug and this kind of awkward looking teapot. Well, I totally understand. This is, of course, made a complete designer, and this was a $7 million teapot. So if you think that this is too, like, not enough value for you, I totally understand and not just set it up. Okay, yeah, you're more interested now that it's sort of designer and, completely overpriced, yeah? Okay, well, let's pour some tea for you then. Yeah, this protein infused tea, it tastes absolutely horrendous, but it's really, really good for you. Yeah, there you go. Just, yeah, it's a little gloopy, so I just need to pour it a little more than usual. Okay, there we go. How's that? You want it? Okay. Yeah, it's part of the mandate. I have to give it to you. You can't take it and drink it by yourself. It's also an incredibly expensive mug. I know you can afford it, but I don't really want to be litigious with you. So just for our posterity, it might be best for me to just feed this to you. Yeah. Okay. So just Okay, perfect. I'll set this aside for you. Whenever you need it, just let me know. And we'll go ahead and get started. So, welcome to your greed management therapy. Like I said before, this is a mandated therapy appointment that you needed to have because of the current government. And, it's something that I really don't agree with, to be honest. I do think that managing your greed is important, but you need to dial it in the other direction, right? I think that you have had your greed a little bit too low, right? You should be more pompous and more. You need to be more confident in the fact that you would rather see people die than withhold any form of increasing profits. Yeah. So, what we're going to do today, and this is just, of course, an introductory session. We'll see each other a few more times, I would imagine. Yeah, totally. You're definitely not going to just get on your carrier pigeon and leave forever, and then I'll never be able to get into contact with you, and you're not going to pay me again. That's just definitely not going to happen, because people like you totally pay people like me. So anyway, we'll go over the basics. And then once we go over the basics, we'll go over some affirmations. This is something that I wanted to bring up. This is affirmations for your greed, affirmations to make sure that you hold on to that greed and really let it fester. Let it really grow inside you until you become an amalgamation of a monster and not really a person anymore. And then we want to talk about some pitfalls, things that are a little bit things that are wanting to take our power, right? Take your power, take your social capital, right? Because you could have all the capital in the world, but your social capital can be in the gutters, right? So you want to make sure that you want to avoid some of these pitfalls, and to make sure that you're hustling and you're bustling and you're doing everything that you need to do to get that grind and to do everything you need to do. Of course, you're way past that point, right? The hustle culture, of course, is for people that want to be you, not people who are you. People who are you don't need to hustle because you already have money. And then next, we're going to then talk about profit. We'll just end it on some nice sort of understanding of where profit lives and where's the healthy place for us to view profit. Okay, we want to make sure that it doesn't have an undersized sort of view in our minds. We want to make sure that it stands very big and tall and that it's very important to us. Okay, so going from there, let's talk about the basics. So of course, everybody knows your name, but considering that you've been naming your children some variation of like a math equation, I would really like it if you told me your current name, because I imagine you might have changed it to sound a little bit cooler, right? So what is your name? Okay. Very interesting. And how was that pronounced? Okay. Is that... Yeah, oh, it's totally cool. Yeah. And how old are you? You can just tell me your approximate age. If I know that you had a few children so that you could have some blood transfusions with them to make sure that you stay young and healthy. And of course, you got their consent, but you did, of course, raise them for that express purpose. So how could they say no? So it's really up to you to figure out the deductions of like your biological age, how many years it's been since you've been born, and how many years have you reduced based off of the new blood transfusions, and just carry the numbers around. Yeah. Okay. So you want me to do the math? I see, because you have people do the math for you. Okay, I can figure that out. So how many liters of blood have you gotten from, and how old was that? Okay, so and then your how many years since you've been born? Okay. So if I do that and then carry that over, I think... Okay, I'm just looking at you to, because I don't want to put an age down that doesn't really fit visuals-wise. and of course I'm saying you're incredibly beautiful. Yeah, you're definitely not ugly in any way, shape, or form, and you definitely don't look like a rat or a potato. Okay, and can you tell me your gender? Yeah, I know. It's something I have to ask, oh my God. But if you could tell me what your gender is, so if this is a very safe space, if you feel like you're like a man or a woman or somewhere in between, or you really don't fit on the spectrum at all, that's totally fine. And if you think this is incredibly ridiculous, you are in the 1%, so you do hold all the power in this situation. But what would you like me to put down? Okay. Okay, and I would like to ask, what is your current salary? Of course, as you know, if I'm going to make sure that your greed is incredibly important to you, I need to know that greed at least holds enough importance that your salary is completely outsized to what any normal human being should be making on Earth. So if it's anything below at least $750 million a month, I do think that you are not. We might have to end the session early, and you might have to find someone else. Okay, yeah, totally. Okay, well, that's good. And then can we talk about KPIs? Because I'm always dying to talk about some KPIs. What are your KPIs? Okay. And how many private islands do you own? This is very important because, as you know, private islands are a very exclusive commodity. Yeah, I don't know if you ethnically cleanse them or something, but if you do have some private islands, I would like to know, especially because, I would like to figure out sort of where those are. Okay. All right. Okay. And another question, this is important to figure out just how much of a billionaire you are. How many bodies would you say have died or have been deceased due to your doing? How many people have workers, subordinates, just overall sort of if your company's been polluting places, contaminating the tap water, people dying, getting sick. How many bodies do you approximately would you say are the lives you're responsible for in terms of them dying? I only ask this because if it's too low, again, I don't think that we'd be necessarily a right fit. We need to have a pretty good number here. Okay, so it's not in the triple digits yet, and I do think that is a little bit of a problem. Something to work on. Yeah. Okay. And what was your salary increase in the last year? This is, again, just to gauge how much greed is important to you, I do believe that, anything under a 45% is just, why are you even talking to me? But we also have to take it in relation to your own workers, right? So if your workers only made sort of a 0.1% increase in the last year and you made a 45% increase, then the delta between those two numbers is definitely something that I'm very attracted to. So, okay, that's a decent number. Especially with that base salary, I would say. Okay. And can I ask you how many shareholders do you have? It's just to understand how much stress you have, because the number of shareholders that you have, the number of people you have to make happy. And if you have 0 shareholders, then good for you. Okay, yeah. Good. Okay, and we talked about this briefly, but what is your day-to-day hustle? Okay, so you mostly just stay at home and watch your money sort of increase, and then you just sort of get on a 30-minute meeting where you tell people what to do, and then you just make more money? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, yeah. That's sort of your general day-to-day, and then you just sort of, based on whim or reason, you just sort of go around. People approach you for different products and different grifts that they want you to do. Absolutely. Okay, well, that's all the information that I need in terms of the basics. I think we'll be a really good fit, you and I. So moving on from that, let's talk about some affirmations then. This is really important. I do think that there are a lot of billionaires out there that have to say these affirmations because, they just don't have um, they don't have that thick skin, right? And I do think that it's important because the thicker your skin, the higher your greed will be, right? So let's just make sure that you have the thickest skin possible, right? And fortunately, there isn't a pill to take to make you have thick skin. You don't want to be the kind of billionaire that, just gets on, just like hires people to like do things for you because you want to look good for other people. You want to hire people to do things for you so that you could dominate them, right? That's really the reason. So in terms of affirmations, okay. So these are, let's just say, I want you to repeat after me, okay? So the first thing, everything is profitable, okay? Everything is profitable. Everything is profitable. This is an incredibly important affirmation. It's basically the baseline for everything you stand for. The oxygen, air, that is profitable. That is something you could potentially take hold of, given enough brainwashing and given enough time for people to to give it enough indoctrination, okay, or desperation rather. Basic necessities, basic needs. These are all profitable things. These are things that profit should be driving it. Because if it's not profit, then why would people want them, right? It's not like it's a basic need, even though they are basic needs. So there is that. Next, repeat after me. Your subordinates are yours to exploit. Right? So you want to make sure that your subordinates, people that work for you, feel like they can't go anywhere else. You want to tank the job market to a point where if someone applies anywhere else, they have a really, really hard time finding anything that is of any good pay. And so they feel obligated to stay with you. And so no matter how you treat them, they feel like they have to take it, and then it gets worse and worse and worse, and it becomes like an abusive relationship. So let's just put a hat on it and say that your subordinates are yours to exploit, right? Okay, again, your subordinates are yours to exploit. Okay, so next we will do, you deserve another mansion. Absolutely. How many do you have? 20? Absolutely. Wonderful mansions. You deserve another one. You have one mansion that's boho chic and one mansion that's mid-century modern, but what if you want an open concept farmhouse? That's not something that you can really do, right? And remember, it's only hoarding if you're poor, right? If you're rich, you have the space to hold all of the items that you would ever want, right? So let that mental illness go and just let it consume you. Let that greed consume you and let it all consume you. Okay? All right. You deserve another mansion. Okay. Next, we will do chasing revenue will save your soul. Now, this is an important one. This is for the more spiritual billionaires out there, right? Because, as much as billionaires have a lot of money, they still tend to think that they're going to go to heaven, and I do think that is very interesting of them, right? So let's just say that having revenue, chasing revenue, will save your soul. Okay, and that way it aligns, right? What you want aligns with what God wants you to do, Oh, where does it say that? In like any form of like scripture or any form of like religious text? Oh, well, it doesn't say that anywhere necessarily, but it's something that you can believe, right? You can just have faith that that's what God wants you to do, right? That's what this is all about, faith. Next, let's talk about taking your private jet is good, actually. Now, this is a very important, I did work with a particular billionaire recently. I'm not going to say names, but, let's just say that the karma theory is real. And, she was a little worried that sort of her private plane usage was hurting the environment, and it's really like, and I was telling her, no, if you want to go to the Walmart next door, you should take your private jet. You own it. You may as well take it. Or if, say, for example, there's like a really lovely coffee shop you want to go to, but it's pesky to drive over there. It's like 30 minutes. So just take your private plane over there. You may as well do it. Okay. All right. Okay. So those are all the affirmations. I will read through them again one more time, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Everything is profitable. Your subordinates are yours to exploit. You deserve another mansion. Chasing revenue will save your soul, and taking a private jet is good, actually. Okay. So next we're going to talk about pitfalls. These are pesky little things that pop up that threaten your greed, that threaten the thing that you might want, like most of all, right? Profit, money, capital, exploitation, basically being the most horrible person in the world. So the first thing is unions, right? This is a scary word, and I'm sure that you have anti-union laws and you union bust in your own sort of business, and I applaud you for that. Yeah, because those workers trying to unionize and trying to say that they deserve, at least like a livable wage, and had like fair working conditions. That's them being greedy, right? And they're taking away from your greed. So this is something you really want to watch out for, right? And if there's a strike going on, you have to scab. It's just one of those things that if you don't scab, then how are the other billionaires going to look at you? They're going to look at you and they're going to think you're weak, right? They're going to think you're not a sigma, you're not an alpha, you're not even a beta. You're basically like an omega. And that at that point, who wants to be an omega? So another pitfall is children. Okay, so children, they're not profitable. They don't make money. They don't work. They don't do anything. They're just a drain. So you yourself, I know you don't have any children, and that's wonderful for you. That's amazing. But also look out for people who want children or people who have children. You don't want those people working for you, because those are the first people that will feel like, well, there's two sides to this. You want people who have children because they're going to be desperate, right? Because they have a resource that drains them, right? Because they fell for the scheme that is having a child. So you just want to make sure that if you hire them, that's the kind of person you're hiring, and not the kind of person that has any kind of self-worth or feels like they want to show put a good example for the children. Okay, and definitely do not have children yourself. Okay. Next, let's talk about morale. This is another really big one that you really don't want your workers to really have, or, to be honest, anybody within your proximity to have. You want them to feel terrible and that they look upon you like you yourself are a god, right? Because money makes you godlike. I think that's something that you, with all of your greed, should understand and feel, right? Absolutely. So let's just call it what it is. You are God. And if you are a god, then people must look at you in awe. Okay? All right. Well, let's go ahead. So morale, very bad. Next, let's talk about equal pay. Okay, now this is in all forms, right? You want to, this goes hand in hand with morale. You don't want to give people equal pay, and you definitely want to make sure that people do not talk about their pays with each other, because if they do, they might realize that you pay some people more than others, and then they're going to demand more pay, even because they do the same amount of work or even more work, and then you're going to have to deal with that. So make it a company policy that people are not allowed to talk about their compensation. Make it so that people, don't want to talk to each other, don't really want to be friends with each other, and just make sure that their pay is nowhere near, even your second in command should make at minimum, 25% of what you make, at most 25%. Okay? Okay. And then friendship. It's such a pitfall. Never have friends. Don't have friends at all. They are. What is a friendship? It's a give or take where you are equal to another person. And as we've established, you are God. So you can't be on an equal level. It's just like not physically possible. So if you're going to be on an equal level with another person, they take you out to dinner and then you take them out to dinner. It's sort of like you're offering them your time. And how much money do you make in a second? You make so much money in a second, they're not worth your time, right? You kill people like them that are friends all the time. So if you don't have any friends, you're not going to feel guilty for the people that you've killed. The logic checks out. And lastly, another pitfall you should really look out for is sheeple. Now, this is a new one I had to add. Sheeple, from what I understand, is a pill that you take and it just turns you into a sheep. This is for people that, they really just want to get shorn and they want to create sort of wool blankets and whatnot. You really want to look out for that because the pill is hard to distinguish. But you know what? I have heard that for people that, really like being sheep, it's a really good option for them. So I just wanted to mention that to you. Okay. And lastly, after pitfalls, we just want to talk about profit. And really, what is there to say? Profit is king. Profit is what you need. Profit is what greed feeds on. So profit is as important as your greed. So make sure that you keep your greed at a maximum and you keep your profit higher than a maximum, ultra maximum. If your greed is at 100%, your profit needs to be at 110%. And when you interview people, make sure that they say that they're going to work 120%. But if they say 130, they're lying. But if they say anything under 120, then you know that they're not giving it their all. Okay. Well, all right then. Do you want another sip of your protein tea? No. Okay. Well, I'll just leave that over here then. We are through with our session. You seem very emboldened by what I've had to say. And I just want to make sure that you know that this session and me sort of making sure that you have a lot of greed within you, it may set you up to be viewed as a villain, and that's because you are going to be a villain. But being a villain isn't bad. Being a villain is important because a villain needs to exist for any story to be great. And I don't think that we've actually come to the realization that villains are actually the heroes of stories. And so if you are a villain, then actually you're a hero. And if you are a hero, and then, people will revere you. And if people revere you, then you are all powerful. Okay? Okay, yeah. That totally made sense for you? Okay, absolutely. So, with that, we'll just go ahead and end the session here. You don't have to come back if you don't want to, but I would happily have you again. I will talk to your assistant about how much this is going to cost. I don't want to tell you the cost up front because I don't know how you'll react, okay? Okay. All right then. Bye-bye.